The question came quietly, but it hit Elon Musk like a lightning bolt to the chest. They were sitting in the backyard of their Texas home, under a wide-open sky. The sun was just starting to set, casting orange and violet streaks across the horizon. Elon's youngest son, barely 10, was curled up beside him on the wooden bench, a notebook in his lap. Elon looked down at him, puzzled. "What did you say, buddy?" The boy repeated it slowly. "Do powerful men ever cry?" There was no sarcasm in his voice, no challenge, just raw curiosity. That kind of unfiltered wonder only a child can carry without shame. Elon felt the weight of the question settle on his shoulders. All at once, it wasn't just about him. It was about every powerful man he'd ever known, presidents, tech giants, titans of industry, and somewhere inside he knew the real question wasn't about them. It was about him. "Why do you ask?" Elon said gently. His son hesitated. "Because I saw you on TV with President Trump. You both looked like you didn't care about anything. But I know you do, Dad. I know you feel stuff. So, I just wondered if you ever cry, like real tears. Not just when someone's watching." Elon sat still for a long time. He thought about all the times he'd buried his emotions under logic. All the moments he'd swallowed tears because there was no room for weakness in the world he'd built. And now here was his own child, asking him if he had a heart behind the genius. "Yeah," Elon said at last. His voice cracked. "Yeah, I cry. But I don't always let people see it." "Why not?" Another hard question, another arrow to the soul. "Because the world doesn't always listen to tears. Sometimes it only listens to power." His son nodded slowly, then turned back to his notebook. "I'm writing a letter," he said. "To who?" "To Mr. Trump." Elon blinked. "Why?" "Because I think he forgot how to cry, too." Elon didn't answer right away. He felt a lump rise in his throat. "What are you going to say?" he asked quietly. The boy looked up, eyes shining. "I'm going to ask him the same thing I asked you. I want to know if he remembers what it feels like to just be human." There was something about the way he said it that made Elon's chest ache. It wasn't political. It wasn't judgmental. It was just a child trying to reach through the noise with love. In that moment, Elon realized something deeper. Sometimes the boldest questions don't come from journalists or CEOs or world leaders. Sometimes they come from a child, when they're brave enough to ask what no one else will. And sometimes those questions melt walls built by decades of pride. That night, after Elon tucked him into bed, his son stayed up a little longer with a small lamp glowing on the desk. The house was quiet, no screens, no noise, just a pencil, a piece of paper, and a heart too full to sleep. He began simply, "Dear Mr. Trump, my name is Eli. I'm 10. I know you were once the President of the United States. I've seen you on TV with my dad. But I'm not writing because of that. I'm writing because I have a question for you. Do powerful men ever cry?" Eli paused, his small hands trembling slightly. He wasn't scared, just aware. Aware that sometimes it's the softest words that leave the deepest cuts. And this letter wasn't about criticism. It was about connection. He kept writing, "My dad says the world doesn't always listen to tears, that people only listen to power. But I think maybe that's what's wrong. I think people forgot how to listen to each other's hearts. I don't know everything about you, but I do know this. People change when someone dares to ask them something honest. I'm just a kid. But I believe honesty can still matter." Down the hall, Elon sat awake in his study, the fire flickering beside him. He was holding the notebook Eli had been scribbling in earlier. Most of the pages were drawings. Rockets, Jesus walking by the ocean, a picture of their family holding hands. But tucked between the pages was something else. A list. Things I want to ask powerful people. Do you believe God still listens? When was the last time you said, "I'm sorry," and meant it? What breaks your heart? What do you miss from when you were a child? Do you still remember what silence feels like? Elon read the list over and over. He couldn't stop the tears from coming this time. They weren't loud or dramatic, just quiet streams running down his face. Each question pierced a part of him that had been asleep for years. The next morning, Eli handed Elon the letter. "Can you send it?" he asked, hopeful but calm. "I know he might not answer, but sometimes people don't need to answer right away. Sometimes, just knowing someone's listening is enough." Elon stared at the envelope in his son's hand. There was no agenda, no calculation, just faith in the power of a child's voice. He took the letter, nodded, and promised to send it. What he didn't expect was what would happen next, because a few days later something strange arrived. A letter, with the presidential seal, and inside, just a single sentence, written in bold black ink. "No one has asked me that in a very long time." Eli stared at the envelope like it had come from another planet. He turned it over in his hands, eyes wide. "It's real," Elon said, sitting beside him. "That's his handwriting." Eli didn't smile. He didn't shout or jump up and down. Instead, he looked thoughtful, almost burdened, as if he could feel the weight of those 9 words. "No one has asked me that in a very long time." "What does that mean, Dad?" he asked softly. Elon exhaled, unsure how to explain. "I think it means he's been carrying things he never told anyone, maybe things even he forgot were there." Eli nodded, then grabbed his pencil again. He didn't hesitate this time. The second letter flowed out of him like a river breaking through a dam. "Dear Mr. Trump, thank you for writing back. I didn't know if you would. I hope it didn't make you sad. I just really wanted to know the truth. Now I have another question. What broke you? I don't mean it to be rude. I just think sometimes we all break. My mom says broken crayons still color. I think broken hearts can still help people too. If something hurt you a long time ago, maybe telling someone about it will help you remember how to cry again. I think God listens best when we talk like little kids. Maybe that's why Jesus liked children so much." Elon felt his chest tighten again as he read over Eli's shoulder. This boy wasn't just asking questions. He was reaching into places most adults would never go, without accusation, without judgment, just childlike wonder and a desire to heal. "I don't know if he'll respond again," Elon said, gently brushing Eli's hair back. "You might have touched something really deep." "I hope so," Eli said, "because if he remembers what broke him, maybe he can help fix other people too." That night, Elon sat in his office, alone again. He pulled out one of Eli's earlier questions from the notebook. "Do you believe God still listens?" Elon didn't know how to answer that, not completely, but somewhere in the quiet, he found himself whispering under his breath, "I hope so." 3 days later, another envelope arrived, this time heavier. Eli opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a full letter, typed, but signed at the bottom in sharp black ink. Donald J. Trump. The words at the top stopped them both. "To the boy who reminded me I was human." Then the story unfolded, not about politics, not about headlines, but about pain. A grandfather who died too young, a father who rarely said, "I'm proud of you." The weight of expectations, the fear of looking weak, the cost of wearing a mask for too long, and at the end just 4 words that made Elon's eyes water. "Yes, I still cry." Eli folded the letter slowly, his small fingers smoothing the crease like it was something sacred. He didn't say anything at first, neither did Elon. For a long while, they just sat together, father and son, in silence. Not the kind of silence that feels heavy or awkward, but the kind that lets your heart breathe. Then Eli finally spoke. "He remembered," he whispered. "He really did." Elon nodded, swallowing the lump rising in his throat. "Yes, and I don't think anyone's asked him to remember in a very long time." Eli looked up, his voice softer now. "Do you think God listens more closely when a kid prays?" Elon paused, thinking deeply. "I think maybe God listens differently, not louder or softer, just closer. Like he leans in when a child speaks, because it's pure and honest and real." Eli's eyes lit up. "Then I want to ask God something, but I'm not going to write it in a letter. I'll just say it." He closed his eyes and whispered, "God, if you helped Mr. Trump remember who he was, maybe you can help the rest of the world too. And if you're listening, please help my dad remember too." Elon felt his chest shatter and rebuild all at once. It was the first time in years someone had prayed for him, not for his money, not for his success, but for his soul. He looked at his son and asked, "What do you think I forgot?" Eli smiled gently. "You forgot that even if the world doesn't always listen to tears, God always does." Elon turned away for a moment, blinking hard. He wasn't ready to let his son see those tears just yet. But Eli already knew. Kids always do. Later that night, Elon walked out to the garage where he kept some of his earliest designs. He ran his fingers across old prototypes, dusty sketches, and scribbled notes from a younger version of himself, the boy who once believed anything was possible. He saw a post-it stuck to a filing cabinet, faded with time. It read, "When you stop dreaming, you start dying." He thought of Trump's letter, of Eli's voice, of the prayer, and he whispered into the empty room, "I want to dream again." Just then, his phone buzzed. A new message. It wasn't from a CEO, not a press agent, not an investor. It was from Trump. Just 3 words. "Can I call?" Elon stared at the screen for a moment, then hit yes. The call connected. There was a pause. Then Trump's voice, lower and slower than Elon had ever heard it. "I read that letter 20 times. That kid, he saw me. I didn't know I still wanted to be seen." Elon smiled faintly. "He sees people the way God probably does. No filters, just heart." Trump sighed. "Can we talk man to man? Not as public figures, just, as fathers?" Elon nodded, even though Trump couldn't see it. "Yes, let's talk." The call began in silence. Not the awkward kind, but the kind that said, "This matters too much to rush." For a moment, neither Elon nor Trump knew what to say. These were men used to being heard, not understood. But something about Eli's letter had stripped away the armor, the pride, the image, the practiced tone. Now it was just 2 fathers. Finally, Trump broke the silence. His voice was hushed, tired, human. "When he asked me what broke me," he said, "I wanted to throw the letter away." Elon listened quietly. "But then I kept reading it," Trump continued, "and I realized I couldn't even remember the last time someone asked me about my heart. Not my plans, not my policies, just my heart." Elon responded gently. "He doesn't see the world through titles, just through truth." Trump laughed softly, the kind of laugh that hides something aching underneath. "That boy sees more clearly than most grown men I've met." There was another pause. Then Trump said something neither of them expected. "I used to pray, you know." Elon blinked. "Really?" "Yeah," Trump said. "Not out loud, not in front of cameras, just before big moments, like the night before I was elected, or when I felt completely alone," he exhaled. "But somewhere along the way, I stopped. I think I was afraid God stopped listening." Elon's voice cracked. "My son asked me if I believe God still listens. I didn't know what to say." Trump responded slowly, "Maybe he listens most when we stop pretending we have it all figured out." The room around Elon felt still, sacred somehow, as if something larger had stepped in to hold the conversation. "You know what's strange?" Trump asked. "What?" "I didn't cry when I lost the White House. I didn't cry when people turned on me. But I cried when I read that letter." Elon felt it, that unmistakable shift, vulnerability laid bare. "Because it didn't accuse," Trump added. "It invited." Elon nodded. "Kids don't try to fix you. They just ask you to feel again." There was a long breath on the line. "I want to meet him," Trump said. Elon looked surprised. "Eli?" "Yes, I want to meet the boy who reminded me I'm not too far gone." Elon hesitated. "Are you ready for that kind of honesty? He doesn't hold back." Trump chuckled. "That's exactly why I need it." Later that night, Elon told Eli about the call, about the confession, about the tears. Eli smiled and said, "Then it's working." "What is?" "The thing I prayed for, that God would help 2 men remember who they really are." Elon hugged his son tightly. "Do you think we're becoming better people?" Eli looked up at him and whispered, "I think you're remembering how to be people first." And somewhere far away, in a quiet Florida estate, a man once called the most powerful in the world sat alone with a letter and whispered his first honest prayer in years. 2 weeks later, the meeting finally happened. It was quiet, private, no press, no cameras, no speeches, just a quiet room in Elon's California home, with a plate of cookies on the table and sunlight spilling through the window. Trump entered the room slowly, wearing something no one had seen on him in a long time: humility. Eli stood up when he walked in, holding something behind his back. Trump smiled awkwardly. "Hi, Eli. I've been looking forward to this." Eli didn't flinch. "Me too." Trump sat down across from him. For a moment, he didn't know how to begin. But Eli made it easy. He handed Trump the thing behind his back, a second letter. "I wrote you another one," Eli said. "But this one, It's not a question, it's a gift. Trump slowly unfolded it. The letter read, "Dear Mr. Trump, thank you for listening. That's what makes someone great, I think. Not how loud they talk or how many people cheer, but how well they listen. I hope you know it's okay to be broken. Even Jesus cried. And he never tried to hide it. You don't have to be perfect, just real. That's what helps people heal. Love, Eli." Trump didn't say anything at first. He just kept staring at the letter, his hands trembling slightly. Then, in the smallest voice Eli had ever heard from a grown man, he whispered, "You're right. I spent my whole life trying to be strong. But maybe strength isn't what I thought it was." Eli nodded. "My dad says real strength is when you care enough to listen, even when it's hard." Trump looked at Elon. "He's teaching you well." But Elon shook his head. "He's the one teaching me." For the next hour, the three of them just talked about childhood, about regret, about God, and about the moments that nearly broke them, and the people who pulled them back. At one point, Trump looked at Eli and said, "You changed something in me. Not by yelling, not by judging, just by asking what no one else dared to ask." Eli smiled gently. Sometimes a question is louder than a speech. Before leaving, Trump asked Eli one last thing. "Can I pray with you?" Eli's eyes lit up. "Yes, I'd like that." So they did. A 10-year-old boy, an inventor known across the world, and a former president, hands joined, heads bowed, hearts wide open. It wasn't a fancy prayer, just a real one. A prayer for healing, for listening, for remembering who we are underneath the armor. And as they said, "Amen," something unspoken filled the room. Peace. Not the kind the world gives, but the kind that comes when people finally see each other again. That night, Eli wrote one final line in his notebook. "Sometimes, when the world forgets how to love, God sends a child to remind them.